On this week's Ring of Honor, we are drafting the most hated villains in Ottawa Senators history.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Ring of Honor. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller and The Martian. You can follow him on Twitter at Laleem's Martian. You can follow the show at Sens Central. And if you're just checking in for the first time since Friday, we posted on our socials, lockedon.senators on Instagram as well, that this week's shows will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have Tony Greco coming up on tomorrow's show. Excited for a great conversation with Claude Giroux's longtime trainer, but now it's episode 4 of the Ring of Honor. Who won episode 3, Pillsy? Curious.
That was you. The fans just wanted to give you a boost on your big weekend while you were saying your vows and doing something very important. You knew that the podcast episode was up and fans were just clapping that you had picked Alfredsson. So congrats to you, man. You know, I don't want to take that away from you. You deserved it. That's a great weekend for you.
For all the people who are saying Daniel Alfredsson won me this Ring of Honor, Martian, you saw the people on Twitter saying that Ray Emery was really the pick that decided this. Would you happen to agree with that?
I don't know if I necessarily agree because I did have a couple chances myself to take Ray Emery, but I guess I got no respect for my Pavel Demitra pick and all those 9th round great value picks that I had. I think I only had 8% in this pool. What? Oh, 11. Wait, no. 5.4.
Yeah. Nice try, Martian. That was bottom of the barrel for you.
Wow. I was really scraping it there. So, hats off to you, Ross. Clearly, you had the best team. Ray Emery was a good pick. But, the Alfie thing, I think, definitely is something we're going to have to consider going into future Ring of Honors here because he clearly tips the scale one way.
He does, and that's fair. The greatest Senator of all time, and pretty cool seeing him before we get into the draft today where, you know, maybe these are some players and people that broke Daniel Alfredsson's heart over the years, but it was pretty cool seeing him reunited with Marian Hossa. Marsh, did you see that? The shot we posted on socials where him and Hossa, it just looked like old hat, those two celebrating a goal together.
Yeah, it's brought me back a little bit, and Alfie out there as well with the Brady Tkachuk gloves on. I know you pointed that out too, so that's a pretty cool little touch by him to have the modern day Sens gloves on there too.
Yep, nothing like Sens nostalgia to get everybody fired up. But as I was telling Ross, doing research for this draft, it's just me looking over 15 of my worst moments as a Sens fan and being like, I hate this guy so much. Like, there were some, no spoilers, but there were some guys and names and moments that I couldn't watch the video. I had to read articles to remind myself and look at stats. I couldn't see it again. I couldn't relive it. So, Ross, you want to elaborate on kind of how we came to this topic for this Ring of Honor?
We thought it was just too much kumbaya. There was too much agreement. You know, the best late round draft picks. You know, we're doing all the best jerseys in Senators history. Like, we were doing all of these things which were the best. Mm-hmm. Well, now we've seen some haters pop up over the last week. Haters, villains, there's a bit of a symbiotic relationship there. But when we're talking about villains, yeah, we're talking heartbreaks. We really are. And it's unfortunate, but I think that it's a great way to cleanse before going into next season. Yeah. These people can't hurt you anymore. Well, most of them. Some
I was going to say,
maybe still active. Because I was the winner, over 80% of the votes, I get to decide the order. And I'm going to take the 2 spot in this draft. I'm going to give Martian first overall pick. I was going to give it to Pillsy, and then he asked for it. So
I don't want it. It's stupid.
I don't mind that. That's okay. I wasn't expecting it either. So interesting.
This is a lot of pressure, Martian, and we can have a discussion about this before you go, but I don't think there's a clear 1-1.
I think there's 2 clear cuts, and that's why I'm happy to go second.
2 clear-cut 1-1s? That doesn't seem very clear.
Well, that's why I'll let you make the decision for me, unless, you could really put me in
I like that strategy by you. That's the old classic, Tim Stützle, 3rd overall.
I don't know. If I were you, I would have gone 3rd, Ross, but whatever. Bad choice.
Okay. Well, with that being said,
Boy.
it's going to be tough for me to do this. I wasn't expecting to take somebody who came from the Senators organization first overall. I'm going with former owner Eugene Melnyk.
Whoa.
That's the biggest villain you can think of when you think of the Ottawa Senators. He was probably the worst owner in any major sports franchise for years and years, and nobody has hurt this franchise more than old Eugene Melnyk. So RIP, my guy, but I'm very sorry. You're my first overall pick as the biggest enemy / villain in Senators history.
So I actually had this as my dark horse pick, where if he was available in round 4, I was gonna, man up and take it. But it's hard for me to argue based on the lump sum of evidence over a 20-year period of things that hurt the team. I'm sure you have a lot of former players who would agree with you on that one.
I think not just players. I think you can look at the employees. I think you can look at the fans. You can look all across the entire Senators universe, and you will find people who do not like this man. I'm very sorry to say it, but it's Eugene Melnyk, fellas. And thanks for letting me have the first overall pick, because much like Elfie, I feel like this is going to tip the scales.
Spicy.
Yeah, Martian, you know what? That's actually, like, when you really think about it, and if you start listing off things that he did that were not advantageous for the Ottawa Senators,
be here all day,
the list gets out of control. Martian, Ross and I did an airing of grievance episode, and did we go over an hour on that episode, Ross? And when was that? Was that the start of the 2018 season?
No, we did it right before the 2020 draft. We had already done all our draft prep, and we said, hey, let's get the bad vibes out of the room. We're about to get the 2D logo back. We're about to get 2 top 5 picks. Let's clear the air.
I remember the episode, and for those of you who haven't heard it and are wondering who you should vote for the Ring of Honor, go give that baby a listen if you want to decide who you're going to vote for this.
What's the one thing, though, if you could boil it down? What's the one?
Yeah, hit us with a couple.
He's a super villain.
Oh, it's impossible to choose one thing. It was just an accumulation.
Start rhyming them off. Let's hear it.
I mean, the one where he said, basically at the Winter Classic, Ross, I believe you guys were at that game. I can't remember the exact quote, but essentially he called out the fans for not supporting the team, or basically said he'd move the team if you didn't support it. And something like that that's what sparked the billboard being built, which how many of the guys, as much as we hate them on these, as we go through this draft, not any of them had a billboard built in Ottawa that wanted them out of here. So.
And picking a guy that had the power and threatened to move the team out of the city, I mean, that's the biggest threat to Ottawa Senators fandom there is. So great point, Martian.
Great point. So it's a good pick. I'll give you that. It's neither of the guys who I had. So you're also putting me in a bit of a pickle here. I kind of wish.
Yeah, told you 3 spots where you want to be.
Here we go. This is my time.
Okay, I'm going to take the one who ruined my childhood the most. I got Gary Roberts as my first overall pick. The 3 overtime goal in 2002 and just his body of work. He had 10 points in 7 games during that 2002 series. He went in 25 games. He had 23 points. And this is a player who at that point in his career as a veteran was not a point producer, still in the playoffs. And he was a guy who almost came to Ottawa in 2008 at the deadline, goes to Pittsburgh and beats Ottawa again in the playoffs. In 2007, Ottawa beats him that year, and then he gets the win the next year. Just a Senator killer and a guy who I always at the trade deadline just wanted to get him on the team. And he never became a Senator. He just killed them over and over again. So Gary Roberts is my 1-1.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know, somebody who's listening will know the backstory on this, but there was a point where he almost did become a Senator around that time. I think he ended up maybe going to the Leafs instead.
Oh, he went to Pittsburgh right here. It's a 2017 trade deadline. I've got it right now. I've got it right now. Shout out.
We did an episode on this, didn't we?
Graham Nichols was writing for Yahoo Sports. That's how long ago this was. This article came out in 2017, actually. And let's see what the exact here it goes. Inability from John Muckler to land Gary Roberts at the 2007 trade deadline. And he was going to have to make a trade with then former bench boss Jacques Martin was the GM of the Florida Panthers. And the speculation was that it was a first round pick or Patrick Eaves. Who wanted to go the other way? And he had just scored 20 goals as a rookie the year before. So I get it. Obviously, in retrospect, you probably make that trade. But yeah, very unfortunate that that didn't come through, because he would have been all the Sens needed to, I think, at least compete better with Anaheim in that final.
Yeah, interesting pick, Ross. I'm not going to lie. You're a bigger Sens encyclopedia than I am. So you've got those memories of hatred there. But Gary Roberts, not on my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he was a bit of a heartbreaker, but I'm not going to lie to you, Pilsy. Not very high on my list either.
Boys, in 2002, he had goals in 6 out of 7 games in a 7-game series.
Hey, look, we didn't say it was a bad pick. All we're saying is not your top pick, not on our list.
Game 6, 2 goals and an assist. He just killed the Sens. So I got him. Yeah, he's my first pick, 2nd overall. Pilsy, you got 2 in a row.
I think I can't decide if I want to hit on a reoccurring theme or spread out the love. But I'll decide that as I go through here, because I'm on the clock for 2 picks. My 1-1 pick is here, and I'm glad it's here. I'm going for it. This is exactly what I was talking about. I couldn't watch the video. I had to do an article.
Don't do it.
Chris Kunitz.
Oh, gross.
Is my top Sens villain. I started becoming a Senators fan in the 06 season, as you guys know. So a lot of the heartbreak didn't really hit home for me. This one, oh my God, did it hit home for me. We were doing the podcast, Sens Central. Making Sense of the Sens, powered by Sens Central, was at the peak of their height. We were doing the podcast. We're like, doing a Sens podcast, we're going to cover so many playoff runs. This is going to be awesome. We're going to go up to the finals up against a brutal Nashville Predators team, like arguably one of the worst teams to be in a Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, tons of injuries at that point, too.
That's what I'm talking about. The roster itself at the time.
What you're saying essentially is that the goal that he scored cost the Senators the Stanley Cup.
I am saying that, Martian, and I fully believe in that. I feel like most Sens fans believe that. I feel like most people in the hockey universe would agree with that statement. Double overtime, a knuckle puck shot. If Stallberg's stick is a couple inches over, that's over the blue line, and we're not even talking about it. And the Ottawa Senators do not have an opportunity to go to the Stanley Cup Finals because of that goal, Chris Kunitz.
You don't even need to watch the video, Pilsy.
I can't.
That goal is ingrained in all of our memory. Mm-hmm. It's burned into our minds, unfortunately. So I don't hate that pick. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Ross, we were at a bar full of Sens fans in Toronto, heart of enemy territory. It was a bar full of Sens fans. It was awesome. Let's say we were definitely feeling it. Double overtime, the drinks were stacking up, and I remember getting out of the cab with you saying goodnight, and I'm like, have a good rest of your season. Not, and slam the door, and I was just so pissed off. But yeah, awful. That was terrible. So I feel like that's a good
credit for that alone, because at the time I was living with a roommate, my buddy Bernsey. Shout out Bernsey. I know you're listening out there. We were just hunkered down in our little apartment, just waiting, because we knew it was going to be a very emotional finish no matter what. We didn't want to be out in the open. It's very similar. I'm a Patriots fan, so very similar to when I watched the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I don't want anyone around me in case they lose. So, yeah, good on you guys being in a bar at that moment.
Yeah, well, we needed to be among friends in the heart of enemy territory, right? So, okay, good pick though. He was high up on my list. He was the other of the two that I said would be the 1-1. So I'm hopeful that the next pick will be available for me still. Otherwise, I might be scrambling.
I don't think it will be, Ross, because I'm about to go back-to-back amazing picks. I'm going to take your player here. I'm going to stick with a similar theme. The Ottawa Senators losing in the Eastern Conference Finals, and a player scoring the game-winning goal, Jeff Friesen. I mean, 2003, this team is looking so good. It's tied up. There's 2 minutes and 14 seconds left in Game 7, and Friesen scores on a 2-on-1. And
Ottawa had just tied it. It was moments before. I'm going to actually pull it up right here.
You were at that game, weren't you?
I was. They tied it up in the third period.
I was there as well, and it was the first time I remember true heartbreak as a child.
Yeah, me too. Right?
Like that was a terrible moment. I did watch the video for that one, and I don't know if you remember, Ross, you probably do, but Friesen had 3 goals that series.
Yeah.
All game winners.
Yeah.
Oh.
Talk about being a Sens killer. That's the definition of it right there. He actually killed them.
Well, my next pick's actually a Sens killer. But
I think you just gave away who it's going to be because I think I know where you're going.
No, there's a couple.
Right. I'm happy. So just so everyone's aware, my first 2 picks scored game-winning goals to block the Senators from going to the Stanley Cup Finals. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, you didn't even mention that Chris Kunitz won the Cup with the Ducks in 2007. But he was a very small. He only played 2 games in that series, and one of the games he played 3 minutes. But he still lifted the cup against the Senators. So that he was 4-1 in series against Ottawa. So that's
I'm so used to you ripping down my picks, Ross, and then here you go pumping up one of Pilsy's picks.
I pumped up your pick too. Maybe I'm in a good mood. We're coming off a weekend.
Okay, he's a married man. He's different.
I'm feeling good right now. And now it's my pick. So I think everyone's got good picks so far. I will say, I think that we're doing pretty well overall. I'm just wondering whether I go back to the well because it seems like there is a theme, or if I go with sustained excellence by one person against the Ottawa Senators. I'm going to go with the latter. He's a guy who's been booed since his first career playoff series in an illustrious career. I'm going with Sidney Crosby, who just bothers me every single time. I did the math, fellas. Sidney Crosby is 4-1 in 5 playoff series against Ottawa. In 27 games, he has 39 points. 39 points, including 13 in his first ever 2 playoff series. The loss in 2007, then in 2008, the sweep. Everyone remembers where he put Jason Spetz in a blender behind the net. Circle, 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 circle. He's unreal. The career numbers during the regular season, almost as impressive. He has 54 points in 46 games against the Ottawa Senators. He's just a killer. From that first time he stepped on the ice against them. I remember Crosby's Kleenex was right behind the penalty box because he couldn't keep his temper intact as a 19-year-old kid. But watching him dummy Ottawa year after year. Remember that series where it was him and James Neal that just destroyed Ottawa in 2013? Just the consistency is where I'm going to go, where there's not one moment like I feel like you have here, Pilsy, but the sustained excellence. Chris Kunitz doesn't have an opportunity in 2017 to end the game if Crosby doesn't do what he does all series long. So I got to go with Sid the Kid as my second pick.
Yeah, I mean that's a solid pick. A lot of my list is Pittsburgh Penguins players, ironically, and that's why it's so painful that Carlson will be wearing a Penguins jersey. But yeah, that's a solid pick, Ross.
Okay, now Martian's got 2.
I feel like we're all looking at this quite differently.
Yeah, especially you, Martian. I can't wait to see how you go next.
It's all about who do I hate? Who do I really don't like because I'm a Senators fan and they tormented me, whether when I was young or as a young adult. Guys.
Wait. Is it Martian's pick?
It is my pick.
Okay, I was just making sure we didn't get lost in the snake.
And
You're doing one pick, then we're going to hit a quick AG1, right, and then we'll reset and hit the second half of the draft.
All right, sorry for interrupting, Martian. Go ahead.
That's okay, no worries. So on the theme of hatred, there's no team I hate more than the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's probably no player in Leafs history that I've hated more than Ty Domi. So I'm taking Ty Domi as my next fill-in Sens history here. So many times the Ottawa Senators had better teams, but were beaten by the Toronto Maple Leafs because they were tougher, and nobody had more to do with that than Ty Domi. How many times did he have to fight Chris Neal? How many times did he fight Andre Waugh? How many times did he fight Brian McGrattan? All the guys for the Sens tough guys had to go through this guy, and he had a head on him like a goddamn cinder block. It was impossible to hit him. He would never go down, would never get knocked out. I was sick of watching him, and thank goodness that Brian McGrattan came along to finally finish the job there. Because there was a long stretch of time where Ty Domi was beating the shit out of Sens.
Oops. Yep. That's fair. That's fair. And
Martian, you asked for who knows how many times he's fought. I got the stat for you because Domi was on my list. 12 fights up against the Sens in his career, and I don't think that counts playoffs, or maybe it does.
It wouldn't.
Yeah, so it doesn't count playoffs.
Half of them had to have been against Chris Neal because they went toe to toe quite a bit, and Neal was the young guy kind of coming in. So
I can tell you his leaderboard, and he fought Neal 5 or less times because that's how many in his top 10 is all it shows right here on hockeyfights.com. He fought Rob Ray 13 times.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Rob Ray had a cup of coffee in Ottawa, obviously mostly known for his time with the Sabres. But, yeah, Domi's a great pick. Domi's a great pick. He's a guy who bothered me time after time. And I honestly, though, Martian, I know you're thinking I'm pulling a fast one here because I've been nice to Pilsy on his picks. But
Give it to
He
me.
wouldn't be my top 2 on those Leafs teams.
Hey, you're looking at it differently than me. I'm looking at who do I hate the most as a Sens fan. You're looking at who's putting up points or finishing the Sens in the playoffs. It's a different way to go about it. I understand that, Ross, but I'm cool with my strategy.
Martian zigging while we're zagging, Ross. That's what's happening.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see where he's going to go with his next pick right after a word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at AG1. Guys, the simple way to have a healthy routine in your life, all you need is one delicious scoop of AG1 in a glass of water every day, and you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and more. If there was a ring of honor of top health drinks, AG1 would be the clear one. Let's just put it that way, because that helps with your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all those things. No GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, less than a gram of sugar while tasting great. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition from Athletic Greens. And you can do that by visiting athleticgreens.com/NHL network. And you're going to get a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So check it out. athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance from Athletic Greens.
All right, welcome back to the Ring of Honor. Of course, it's powered by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Leafs Martian. Go give them a follow on Twitter. There you can find us at Sens Central. A little reset for the people at home here. We are through 2 rounds of our Ring of Honor draft for most hated villains in Senators history. Pilsy has Chris Kunitz and Jeff Friesen. Martian's got Eugene Melnyk and Ty Domi. What a duo. And I've got Chris Roberts and Sidney Crosby. I think these are 6 great picks here, but the list continues. Martian, who is your 3rd pick in this draft?
Well, 2 things. First of all, I'd really like to compliment Pilsy on that ad read, which was absolutely flawless. Pilsy, you floated right into that thing.
Appreciate it.
Second of all, I look at my list and my blood just starts boiling with those 2 names just sitting there like that. So I'm ready to really cap this thing off with another very hated character in Senators history. The guy who took down Erik Karlsson, Matt Cook.
Good.
Yeah, high on my list. Great pick.
With the slicing of the Achilles, that was like just a complete bonehead play. Say what you will. People said it was an accident. My other guy, my first overall pick, wanted to start a forensic investigation to figure out if this was if he did it on purpose.
So is Melnyk a hero or a villain?
And you just sewered your first pick.
Listen, nothing came of it. It didn't even work. It was another idiot move by Melnyk. So just like it just adds to, it's like a compiling thing for me over here with my team. Guys, that play is alone the only thing that puts Matt Cook on this list, despite the fact that he was the biggest rat in the entire league probably at the time. Nobody likes him. His teammates don't like him. I don't like him. The Sens hated him. Sens fans hate him. Matt Cook, thank you very much. I'll take that pick all day.
And Martian, you hit the nail on the head with your theme, making your blood boil as a Sens fan. That irks me. That pisses me off so much. I hate Matt Cook so much. He's one of there's not a lot of people in my life that'll really use the term I hate this person. Usually I give people benefit of the doubt, but Matt Cook is one of those guys. He also I was reading the article on this. I couldn't watch the video, and they mentioned that in 2010 he hit Karlsson from behind as well. Ross, do you remember that moment? I couldn't find a video of that, but they said that's kind of what sparked that rivalry between them.
Karlsson was playing his best hockey of his career at the time that it happened. He was skating around like the wind at that time. So for an Achilles injury to occur, that's something that's obviously going to hinder your skating going forward. I wouldn't bet against it still affecting Erik to this day, even though he's still a great skater. That was a real tough one.
And Martian, 25 seconds left in the period when it happened too. So.
And the puck went out of play. If you rewatch it, 20 seconds prior, the puck had gone over the glass. You can see all the Sens pointing at it, and they didn't blow it down, and the play went the other way. And sure enough, that's what ended up happening. So,
and for people saying it was a hockey play, that's the biggest garbage I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was a big time butterfly effect play. I feel like things could have been completely different if that never happened, but it did, and we hate it.
Yeah, that does make my blood boil. So I'm actually going to take before there was Matt Cook, there was Darcy Tucker, and he needs to be on this list. This guy is the definition of a guy who wouldn't step up and actually fight. So he would just poke and poke and poke. And the only time he would fight is when everyone else was on the bench. Remember, he attacked the entire Sens bench, but just a greasy character in those Battle of Ontario. So obviously he didn't put up the points that some of the other guys have, but man, always hated watching Darcy Tucker. And without him, just kind of like Ty Domi. I think these two are probably interchangeable, except Ty Domi would actually stand up for himself and fight his own battles. Whereas I think that makes Darcy Tucker more hated because he wouldn't, stand up and actually take on answer the bell, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I got Darcy Tucker here, that rat, as a third round pick. I think this is a good area for Darcy Tucker to go.
Yeah, and that he was on my list, so I was looking things up. And when he comes at Neil, when Neil's on the bench, that's when he decides to be a tough guy, when Neil is on the bench. Oh, man.
Neil still got a few shots in too, and there's a few other tough guys on the Sens at the time who got a couple shots in too. I think wasn't Shane Knighty in the mix in that whole deal? I don't remember that, but I think Shane Knighty's the one who he ended up grabbing on the ice by the end of it. I don't know, but it all shook out so weird.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So I think that's a fair for where we are in the draft. I like my pick.
Yeah, that's a solid one. So I'm up with my last two picks here.
Yep.
I don't know where I'm going to go with my last pick, but I know where I'm going to go here.
I'm feeling good here, boys.
One of my lowest moments as an Ottawa Senators fan happened. I forget the year, but it's a player that is active in today's NHL. In his NHL debut, he scored 4 goals against the Ottawa Senators. It's Austin Matthews. I mean, this guy is so brutal. Like that game, I will always remember that game. Like when
the Sens won that game.
Yeah, but it was tough because Austin Matthews, all this hype, right? He scores a goal. You're like, okay, yeah, like he is good. Like first overall pick, that's good. Scores another one. You're like, okay, decent. Gets the hat trick. At this point, like my head is in my hands. I'm like, no. This kid cannot be on the Leafs, and now we're gonna have to face him over and over. Gets the 4th goal, and yes, they still lose that game, thankfully. But having 4 goals in your NHL debut up against arguably your biggest rival team, that was just painful. And he's been a Sens killer his whole career. Ross, you listed off Sidney Crosby stats against the Sens. In 29 games, Austin Matthews has 43 points, his most up against any team. Like
how many
43 points in 29 games is insane. I'm not sure how many goals. I didn't have that.
It's pretty similar to points per game that Sidney Crosby has against Ottawa, but who's counting?
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, Crosby, how many more games? How many more games is Crosby getting?
Points per game.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
If you would have told me that you're taking a modern day Maple Leaf, knowing you, I would have for sure thought you were taking Mitch Marner because we know you don't like that player either.
I got 2 picks here. I got 2 picks.
You have 2 picks. So.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, for those at home, 23 goals in 29 games against Ottawa. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah,
but never faced them in the playoffs. Like, I don't know. It's a decent pick. Like, he kills Ottawa. There's no question about that. But
do I hate him? No.
Yeah, do I hate him? Exactly.
I don't know. That his NHL debut where he had 4 goals. Like,
if they won the game, I think it's different. Now, granted, one of the goals he strips Mark Stone and then makes Carlson look.
He went through the entire team on that goal. All 5 guys had a chance at him, and then he goes 5-hole on Andy. Like,
I hate him.
But the big thing for that was me being like, oh no, like we're going to have to hear about this guy for a long time in Toronto. And we were living in Toronto at the time. We had to go into CSM the next day and hear about that again, even though the Sens won. That was a quick ricochet shot right back at our Leafs fan friends. But yeah, I'm going Austin Matthews on this one.
All right. Well, you got the next one too.
Yeah, I can't decide what way to go here. you know what? I'm gonna do it. It's not going to be Mitch Marner because yes, I do hate him, but there's not really moments that I can think of with Mitch Marner that I hate that much. There's a couple little ones, but yeah, I'm going to sway in a different direction here. I'm sticking with the Toronto Maple Leafs though.
Okay,
Matt Sundin. I mean, the captain of the Leafs. So many battles. Him and Alfie, the Swedish guys, both captains of their teams. Sundin had 64 points in 70 games, 15 points in 14 playoff games up against the Sens. Like there was the Alfie, the fake stick toss moment. That was a good one because that fueled the rivalry between these guys, and it was just one of those things where you always knew maybe he wasn't kind of the highest point getter that the Leafs had up against the Sens at that time, or the guy that pissed you off the most. But when he was on the ice, you were like, oh man, that's a guy that could change this game really quickly in his prime. So I'm going with Matt Sundin as my last pick.
He's too classy to be on this. Honestly, I just never hated him.
I'm with you, Ross. I feel like the wording is villains, not Sens killers, not people who score against the Sens.
Villains.
All right.
Villains.
You started strong. Those last two picks, I think, might lose you this one. Honestly,
I think you could have gone a different direction and you'd have a different result.
I can name 5 Leafs from those teams that I hate more, and I'm taking one with my final pick because not only did he ruin the Senators' last hope before major changes came, most notably Marian Hossa, but also was on a different team the year before, was teammates with Jeff Friesen when they beat the Senators in 7 games and actually had 4 points in that series as well, even though he was known as a defensive-minded player in this part of his career. I'm going with Joe Nieuwendyk. 2 goals in Game 7, 2004. Patty Lalime,
That's going to hurt you, Martian.
Patty Lalime might have been
the brand.
Like Patty Lalime might have been my next pick because that far.
Oh, easy.
Use your blocker when it's on that side. Don't try to reach across. That's like goaltending 101, 001. Like that's you strap on the pads. Hey, when it's on your glove side, catch with your glove. When it's on your blocker, use your blocker. Hey, don't reach, they'll teach. And that's what Joe Nieuwendyk did in Game 7. But yeah, not only that, all right, like that's one moment. Yeah, it was an important one. He also had goals in 3 other games that series. Game 1, Game 3, Game 4. A game winner was in Game 3 as well. So he had 2 game winners in that series. And like I said, was a part of that Devils team the year before. So even though he got hurt in Game 7, so barely played, only 2 minutes. But yeah, Joe Nieuwendyk, when I think the Senators, killers, villains, Joe Nieuwendyk comes to mind. So I'm going pretty heavy on the Leafs here. 3 of my 4 picks were from those early 2000s. But I think that will relate to a lot of the Senators fans out here who, like me, went through it in those early 2000s because of Toronto. So, yeah, my final pick's Joe Nieuwendyk.
One thing this draft has taught me is that I know villains better than anyone. And when it comes to Senators villains,
Twitter,
I might be the bad boy of the Sens Twitter right now or whatever. Guys, this is the thing. You guys left me a gem. Somebody who, until his day of retirement, was booed by the Ottawa Senators fans in the CTC.
I thought about going this way. I know exactly where you're going.
The microfracture-inducing player in the 2015 playoffs.
Nice. I thought about this.
PK Subban from the rival Montreal Canadiens. Gentlemen, like he's just a hated player for Sens fans. People are going to see my list and be so rattled that they're going to have to vote for it. PK Subban, I don't know what else there is to say other than that he did his damage against the Sens like he needed to, and Sens fans hated him for that slash on Mark Stone where he created that wrist injury and Stone was out for that rest of that series, or at least not himself. Did he stop playing? I can't even remember. I was in Whistler at the time. Apologies. But PK Subban, when I think of Sens villains, he was number 6 on my list. So I'm taking him.
That's good value because he did get booed big time, and I can, like, there isn't moments other than the slash, but I can visualize him a slap shot from the point and doing that celly, and it's just like, man.
That was the final dagger of Andrew Hammond in 2015, where they're like, yeah, Magic's done.
It's true. Yeah.
There you go. So PK Subban will be the one that he'll top off the rest of my team there.
Yeah,
nice. We can definitely do honorable mentions here because I've got a handful of guys that I thought I might go with
too, for sure.
I'm still trying to figure out how to spell Joe Nieuwendyk. You ever tried to spell that?
I have no clue. No clue.
Not an easy one, but
would you like to translate this word?
Exactly. Honorable mentions as what? Before we get to honorable mentions, though, let me pull up here.
Yeah, pull up the final list.
I want to do an updated list here, and again, you can go vote. We're going to put this one out Monday night, so Tuesday morning, I'll put up the graphic and I'll put up the poll. We'll have a 24-hour poll where you can vote which list makes you the most mad, like which one gets you fired up for most hated, villains. I like this topic, boys. I like this topic a lot.
That's a good one.
This is called Me Killing Time while I present it. And again, if you're listening to this, you can go find it on YouTube if you want to see the list in its entirety. My list is Gary Roberts, Sidney Crosby, Darcy Tucker, and Joe Nieuwendyk. Martian, read yours off, and then you, Pilsy.
I've got Eugene Melnick, Ty Domi, Matt Cook, and PK Subban.
I feel like there's a U in Nieuwendyk somewhere, Ross, but we'll just go through it. My name is also spelled incorrectly on this list, so that's fine. My list consists of Chris Kunitz, Jeff Friesen, Austin Matthews, and Matt Sundin.
Okay. There is a U in Nieuwendyk.
I
knew it.
I'll start with honorable mentions because I had an ace up my sleeve that I decided not to use. I kind of wish I did. Pat Seeloff.
Oh,
that would have been a good one, Pilsy.
Right? Like that's I wish I went that route. I was deciding whether I was going to do that. I was just worried a lot of people would just be like, "Who? Like this is a no-name guy," but Sens fans should know about Pat Seeloff destroying MacArthur before the season even started in a friendly skate.
Dude, if we would have drafted like 6 rounds and you would have pulled that out, that would have been the best sleeper pick of all time. I think.
I should have done it. I should have done it.
If we went deep, no, with the amount of people we dropped, it made no sense. But like if we would have gone deeper and you would have picked him like 6th or 7th round or something like that, I wouldn't have ever even thought of that. So that was really clever, Pilsy.
Yeah, that's what I got.
I had a couple that I wanted to mention that I was hoping maybe would come around, but obviously it didn't shake out the way I thought. But Aaron Dell, that's a classic, right?
Yeah, that is a good one.
That caused that high ankle sprain. And the other one that I mentioned to you guys before we started recording that we realized was disqualified was players who have yet to score their first NHL goal. People probably don't know this, but since their inauguration, the Ottawa Senators have allowed more first NHL goals with 120 than any other team in the last 30 years. So there's a little nugget for everybody back home. Those would be my 2 that I was thinking of.
That's good. Well, no, I had a couple. One of them was going to be Lindy Ruff, just because I feel like he was always at the center of it for that mid-2000s Sabres rivalry. I thought of
him and Brian Murray almost fist fought on the benches.
I could go all day. Shane Corson.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Darcy Tucker covers that. Those were like
Shane Corson is the poor man's version of Darcy Tucker, I would say. Yeah.
What about Steve Downey with the hit on McCammon behind the net?
Yeah.
Chris Pronger, another McCammon.
Chris Pronger. I also put Andy McDonald on my list. Had goals in 3 straight games during that Stanley Cup final. And after Ottawa got the win at home in game 3, Andy McDonald had 2 goals in game 4. And it's just like,
I like that Andy McDonald one because he was a little bit of a slayer in that final for sure.
He was.
What about?
Oh, I got one. Brian Boyle. Remember Brian Boyle in that 2012 series where he just went up to Karlsson first game and just started giving him the business, but Matt Cartner put him in his spot. So I thought that
100%. Yeah. That team had a few guys. Prost was on my list. Tanner Glass was on my list.
Yeah, Glass is a good
one. Prost was a punching bag. Like it wasn't.
I know, but the quotes after the game were hilarious.
Bug-eyed walrus.
Right. Like if we did comedians in Sens history, it'd be Brandon Prost. Like nobody was scared of him.
Here's another one that I thought about taking with my last pick, but I didn't because I didn't want to throw people off because I know how the voting goes in these things. People don't think as deeply as I do.
The guy who had 5.5% of the vote last time knows how the voting goes in these.
Chirping the listener. I don't know how that's going to go.
Interesting move.
Danny
Martian's basically like, you dummies can't understand what I'm doing here.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Yashin?
I thought about doing Yashin.
Danny Heatley and Alexi
Heatley I thought about as well.
No, Heatley should be in the Ring of Honor, and that's a fact.
Well, this is the Ring of Honor.
I know, but
I don't disagree with you there, Ross. I think that like a lot of Sens fans, I think every Sens fan out there has great memories of Danny Heatley. So I don't.
I have some Sens players ones as well. Matt Murray is a good one because he shut the door on the Sens in 2017, and they're still paying him because of the mess he made here. So that's another one I thought of.
Fantastic pick. Like
yeah,
that
these could have all been better picks than Matthews and Sundin.
That you should have picked him. That would have been a great explanation and pick. That's gonna hurt your list.
Yeah, I think I interpreted this as more like who dominated the Sens point wise when I should have went with Anger, because the other guy I have, and this is more of a fun stat than a pick I would have actually got, but I'll see if you guys can get it. Who has the most points against the Sens ever?
Oh, it's
Yager.
Yager. Yep, Yager set 90 points in 79 games.
Yeah, I believe that.
I mean, I think we all did our research. I looked that up to see who it was just to be sure, and I don't hate Yager enough. I think he just
that's the thing. That was a nothing burger for
early day Sens. I think he just feasted on them, right? So
yep. Man. All right. Well, I still think this list is going to pop, but I do wish I went with my honorable mentions instead.
I wish we could find out who fought against the Ottawa Senators the most.
I tried to find that, Ross. I couldn't find it. Or who had the most PIMs against the Sens. Couldn't find it.
Oh,
I mean, Ty Domi's got to be up there, fellas.
He's got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else would even be close. Yeah, it's got to be. I feel like Rob Ray's probably close. I mean, he was in the division the whole time, except for the cup of coffee in Ottawa.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually, at the time, as a young guy, I remember when they acquired him, I loved it because they had a pretty tough team already, and adding him just made them so much tougher.
Remember Danny Heatley's first game back in Ottawa? Chris Neal rocked him right by the bench. First shift. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Oh, we have to mention Derek Plant for the older generation, the 98 save. First time Ottawa made the playoffs. They got it to game 6 or 7, and Derek Plant just rocket from the point. No-name guy, and that ended the series. Jason Pominville broke my heart in 2006. He wasn't hated. Like, you know what? That was just the wrong guy at the right place, right?
I've got one more guy that's still in the league, Brendan Gallagher.
Oh, yeah, damn. That's a good one. But again, that's one of those guys where he's just a comedian. Like, he hasn't actually done anything up against the Sens. Like, he's just embarrassing himself.
Yeah, and his recent comments on Tim Stützle and calling him out, I think that just adds to the kind of villainous persona that we're looking for in a draft like this too.
True.
No, that's fair. Yeah, Gallagher actually, did he score a series clinching goal against Ottawa? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he did. It was 2-0 win in game 6. Gallagher had the only goal other than an empty netter.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Still be going that quick whistle on Pajot where the puck squirted out.
Right, which shouldn't have been.
Ridiculous. Hey, the ref in that game, put him on my list here.
Yeah, Martian, I thought you were going to go with that ref you hated from last season. I thought you were doing that for sure. I forget.
I can't even remember his name, but he is definitely a Sens killer.
Yeah, so that wouldn't have played on the graphic.
No. Hey, imagine I just put refs. Like the pick was just referees.
Honestly, like that's pretty funny.
And the explanation could have just been like, it's the most chanted name, like ref, you suck.
But we did establish before we got on that it has to be individuals and not.
Yeah, it can't be a group.
Right, a team or a group. That's fair. I think we got good lists, fellas. Like, I think even the honorable mentions, we probably could have slid a few guys in here, but this list does make me actively upset every time I see it. Every time I zoom in on a name, I'm like, wow, that guy sucks.
Not a single good name on this list.
You know who is kind of in the same vein as Jeff Friesen? He obviously didn't score that goal, but Jay Pandolfo that series in 2003 was just the biggest like pain in the ass to play against.
Yeah, and you know he partied hard as soon as he got off that.
Oh man, that
for the plane
was John Madden the other guy. It was like that killer line, and then you could have picked anyone from that 07 Ducks third line. It was Rob Niedermeyer, Travis Moen, and Sammy Paulson, and they just shut down.
Travis Moen, especially, I remember him that series.
And then Travis Moen was in the line brawl in 2013, so he's got a little Habs dust on him as well.
Oh, Habs dust, that's gross.
Yeah, real gross. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the episode 4 of the Ring of Honor. I have 2 wins. Martian has 1. I'm just doing some quick math. Does that leave any wins for you, Pilsy?
No wins for me. That's okay, though.
So I don't like your odds in this one either. I think I got this one on lock.
Well, I like my guys too. I think that mine will appeal to a certain demographic the most, but I do worry that I didn't spread out my history, my discography, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do. I tried to hit all the generations.
These are hard, guys. This makes it like, I know Pilsy, you guys have been chirping my strategy from the first one to the third one, where I used a Senators base as like why I like them in my first one, and then the third one I completely went away from the Sens. So it's like, it's hard to, you got to set a strategy and stick to it. I feel like with these things, and I think we all kind of did that.
Well, you definitely came in hot here with your first pick. There's no question about that. You're going to catch people's attention with that one. There's no doubt about that. So, hey, what if I put the NCC as an honorable mention for not letting them go?
Honestly, that'd be a great one.
But I think we probably could have made an exception, because I could have searched who the president of the NCC.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Pilsy, but I would have allowed it.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Well, hey, episode 5, again, any topics that you want as a Ring of Honor, put them in the YouTube comments. We go through them all, and we will make sure to peel out the best of the best. The Ring of Honor, we're having a blast doing them. You guys keep watching them, sharing them with your friends, enjoying them, putting in your own 2 cents in the comments, and we will keep pumping them out. It's bonus content. The Ring of Honor, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast. For more and to vote, we're going to put the link in the comments. So if you're not a typical Twitter user, there will be a direct link to the poll. Go have your say. Vote for one of the teams who is crowned the most hated villains list in Ottawa Senators history. For today, we say goodbye. For @Levitan Martian and Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been presented by the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.